Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue is still spinning on those ones and twos. Fam, that has to be the cleanest, the fastest, the most expedient, non-BS introduction we ever got through, because I was For you, I went really professional, not like over the top, not too much, just nice and professional.
It's about time, Pam. Thank you. I
Gotcha,
appreciate
like
it.
that. Well, you deserve that. Amazing work. You know what I'm saying?
This is the closest it's gonna get. I don't know.
A little bit higher. Well, fam, we have a great show for you today. A lot of stuff's been happening. Thank you to all who supported us in the Nicaraguan elections, all the coverage. Thank you for all the great responses on the Jimmy Dore show, on the Jason Burma show, Kobe show. We will be on Niko House on Monday, hopefully, if we can get that down. Fam did an amazing job talking at the General Strike Summit. So it's been a more than busy week. Dr. Papadopoulos was on the show. And today we have a great guest, Rick Overton, the comedian, our friend, will be joining us in less than an hour. And we're just going to have a fantastic show. Fam, a lot of breaking news out there. Let's start right off the top. Why don't you make the first announcement, everything we saw, or do you need another little bit more time?
I was just sharing. That's
cool.
what I was
I can
doing.
waste some more time. I can talk if you like.
Just
The New York Jets are taking on the Miami Dolphins this.
Why do you got to bring the Jets up?
Sorry, because you always go Jets suck, and you always make fun of my Jets. And
Mets and Jets both suck. I don't know, fam, why.
Well, the owners suck. One of them is Woody Johnson of the Johnson & Johnson. He's the president, the heir to the Johnson & Johnson. The other one is the Steve Cohen, the jerk off from the Wall Street Bets who recouped a lot of money when all of a sudden, Robin Hood's app shut down. TD Ameritrade, I believe, was another one, if I'm not misspeaking. But yeah, those both owners of the Mets and Jets suck. So let's get to the real news. We ready?
Yeah, so
All right.
we're just going to announce, this isn't a section, but I just wanted to announce the fact that Nicaragua, Denis Moncada is announced today that the government of Nicaragua is withdrawing any association, so it's completely leaving the OAS, the Organization of American States. And of course, we predicted this. We knew this was going to happen because they had already released a statement saying that the OAS was violating its charter, where the charter never indicated the OAS had any jurisdiction on interfering in any country's election. So they were just awaiting for President Daniel Ortega to actually sign this, and he did. And so now that's what happened. So I just wanted to show a video of Denis Moncada, who is the foreign minister, who pretty much declared this to the OAS and obviously then to the United States of America, who has sanctioned them.
Que hoy viernes 19 de noviembre a las 8 de la mañana enviamos al secretario general de la Organización de los Estados Americanos comunicación denunciando la Carta de la Organización de los Estados Americanos, OEA. Estamos renunciando y desvinculándonos de esa organización, dando por terminado el vínculo del Estado nicaragüense y la OEA. Nos estamos desligando de la Organización de los Estados Americanos. Que hoy
Right.
Yep. So the OAS is gone. Bye, Felicia time.
Right.
I actually over here have a little bit of the tweet. This is released. This was the actual letter that went over to the OAS. I am writing to officially notify you of our unwavering decision to denounce the charter of the Organization of American States in accordance with Article 143, which initiates the definitive withdrawal and resignation of Nicaragua from this organization. So quick breaking news, fam. Like you talked about on Jimmy Dore, they were just waiting on Daniel Ortega. It's happened.
Yeah, it's happened. And it's really brave of Nicaragua to do this. They're putting a target on their back, but they're also showing that they're not going to play ball with the United States, the West, and their NATO allies. So once again, now Nicaragua is going to be on the eye of the West for daring to defy the empire.
You know the mainstream media. Why'd they throw out the OAS then? Why'd they throw out the OAS? Even Cory Booker, when we had him, we were asking him if Bolivia a coup, he was standing behind the OAS. Well, I get my information from the OAS. It's kind of like saying, I drink nice coffee in the morning, but I also get my information and news from the CIA.
Yeah. It's
normal. Like, please.
Exactly.
So it's ridiculous. So there's going to be a pushback. You're going to hear Biden say this. If they had nothing to hide, why'd they leave the OAS? Come on, man.
Exactly.
You can see it coming.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to announce that we're going to have, more announcements of that to come. Our coverage on Nicaragua will be continuing, so please keep updated via the Convo Couch and us. So the thing we're going to have a segment on this. Mainly, we avoided talking about it because it's so divisive.
Yeah.
We talked about it before, and we had an argument over it a year ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of the information that's been released has thus changed. So has my stance on how I viewed this particular case. And all I said on Twitter was, this is a very divisive case. I mean, obviously we're already divided, but it's fomenting even more division, and it's really not going to change anything in the grand scheme of things. And I got called a white supremacist. I got called just for saying that, even though I personally have been of the belief that Kyle should be getting some sort of time, some sort of, I was advocating manslaughter or some sort of time behind bars because of what he did. Now, I don't see him as a victim. I don't see him as innocent. Based on the things we have seen, and we're not going to discuss a trial because that's been discussed ad nauseum. You guys have all seen it.
Yeah.
People have made videos of it. We're not going to discuss that, but we are going to discuss the verdict. And the verdict stated that Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty on all charges in the Kenosha shootings. Now, I think all the charges were murder.
Yeah.
And murder is difficult to prove because you have to prove it beyond reasonable doubt. And I knew that wasn't going to happen. So, based on the videos that were released that weren't edited, because what happened is mainstream media released edited videos that made it look like he was persecuting people when in reality he was being persecuted in the beginning. And that's something that a lot of people had to retract, including TYT, who had to make a correction. What I'm saying is I'm not going to go over the intricacies of the case, but I just want to say, a lot of things were misled by the media, which led a lot of people to have a belief that was based on things that didn't happen. And there's just pull back and forth that I feel like when all this is happening around the world, when we're talking about what's happening in Nicaragua, we're talking about what we're going to be talking about with Build Back Better, this case seems like such a distraction.
Well, that's what I'm about to say. You talk about how divisive it is. I agree, but it's also a major distraction. We're not paying attention to anything else that's going around. We're paying attention to this one situation. I don't want to say death should be, treaded lightly over here. It's a very serious thing. There are 2 people who died, a third person that was seriously injured. But, the way this is kind of just taken over everybody's, it's been weaponized, but it's taken everybody's mindset. We see the thought police all over this kind of, these kind of things. So we're going to get more into that Monday. But yes, it is breaking news. Kyle Rittenhouse has been found not guilty on all 5 charges, fam. So I'm holding my fingers, hoping that there's not craziness in the streets.
Well, and that's the thing. I still have something to say about this. When I say that this is divisive and that people should have stopped talking about it so heavily, I wasn't trying to tell people what to do. I was simply trying to say that there are other things happening that we're ignoring because of this trial, and that it's fomenting a divide that's already there, and that it's made to do that. The media lives off of this. You saw people like what's his name? The Republican guy who wants to hire him as an intern.
Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz. This is what the Republicans and Democrats do. They feed off this culture warfare, right?
Yeah.
That nothing changes. The justice system has been unjust for a long time. Now, what I do want to say is that even if you can argue Kyle Rittenhouse deserved self-defense based on the evidence, and looking at the evidence, you can argue that. Any lawyer would tell you the same thing. But people are looking at this through a very emotional lens, and I understand that. Because the reason people were protesting isn't discussed. People were protesting because of police brutality. Yeah. So Kyle represented somebody that wanted to be a pro-cop. He's on the side of the cops. He was thin blue line everywhere. So that's obviously going to trigger people. It's going to be like, well, this guy who is pro-police, he's a white guy, he got away with this. And that isn't always the case. If we took Kyle and changed him to be a black man or change him to be an anti-establishment guy, would things have been different? Probably. I can say that things likely would have been different because of the system that we're in. He has a benefit, and that's undeniable. And if you're discussing this case, you should mention that. But at the end of the day, people are going to be arguing about the intricacies of this case, and I think it's important that we don't lose sight and cancel people and try to dismiss people because they have a different opinion. Yeah. So I think it's important to hear what other people are saying and not just call them white supremacists. For example, Jimmy got a lot of pushback because of what he was stating. Now, I wouldn't have necessarily stated it like Jimmy did, but and I didn't agree with 100% of the analysis he gave, but he was actually factually speaking about what the trial was and the things that were happening, But I always think it's important to point out that had the circumstances been different and Kyle been somebody else, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Maybe he would have been dead. You know what I mean? And I think those are things that are important to highlight. And people are angry because there's injustice and they want to make Kyle a representation of the revenge to get justice. And that's just not going to happen. If you want to fight the power, we have to fight the people who make the laws. We have to fight the people who are the state agencies that are trying to make this country a police state, that are trying to take away people's guns, that are trying to impose mandates. That's really who's in power here. He's just a symptom of everything else.
And we've also seen a lot of practices and a lot of things coming to fruition now. When you talk about January 6th, right, a lot of people like ourselves indicate that there was a lot of inside forces there, like FBI and whatnot. Obviously, the Republicans start blaming Antifa and whatnot. Right. But we smelt a lot of funny businesses. As we're seeing it play to light, there's a lot of funny businesses. We've shown plenty of videos where Black Lives Matter, the organizers, don't advocate for violence. They stop that kind of stuff. We've seen videos in LA where people were trying to break into a Walgreens or whatever, and the people from Black Lives Matter were saying, stop, don't do this, don't do this. And that's what they're all about. However, the media spins it like it's Black Lives Matter itself doing that. Then you have the car dealership, the private car dealership, going up in flames in Wisconsin. And when we saw that, I'm like, oh shit, this is going to cause problems and stuff like that. Well, I would bet my left pinky that Black Lives Matter had nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? But yet, the mainstream media thrusted that upon, especially on Fox News. Look what Black Lives Matter and Antifa is doing, whatnot. Which kind of egged people on, like Kyle, to grab a gun and go down there in the first place. So this is all media-induced, whatnot. We have to look at those things and say, what are they doing to us? Who's trying to pit us against each other? And this was the perfect example of them pitting us against each other. We did see some good signs where Black Lives Matter people and some of the Kyle Rittenhouse supporters were sharing pizza and talking, sharing shirts, and then somebody came in, started a fight right after it, whatnot. Yeah. It's sad, but at least seeing those nuggets, those moments, the Black Fathers Matter. A gentleman took off the shirt, gave it to one of the Kyle Rittenhouse supporters. He put it on. So hopefully we're seeing more of that. I shared the Jim Brewer situation. I don't know either, fam, but I'm praying for that. I know.
It really it's just, the fact that, somebody like me, who's obviously not a white supremacist, is getting called a white supremacist, it just shows you the reactionary toxicity of a lot of the emotional tantrum left. I don't know what else to call them. They push people away. You create more people that are against your cause when you react like that. And I'm with you. I think he should have received some sort of sentencing. Yeah. But, you don't even get to say that. The reality is the justice system applies differently depending on how much money you have and also depending on what color your skin is. And that's something that's intrinsic in the justice system. You want to change that? Kyle Rittenhouse is not going to change that, whether he was locked up forever. And if we don't want justice for people we don't like, we don't want justice at all. Would it be just to have him locked up forever? Because that's what I hear people say. Lock him up and throw away the key. Since when did the left become so carceral? Yeah. I wish we had a system of rehabilitation and instead of a system of imprisonment. And that applies to everybody, even people I don't like. A lot of these people were cheering when Ashley Babbitt was shot. I think that's wrong too. I think if you're going to call what happened in Kenosha a riot, then you have to call what happened on January 6th a riot. If you're going to call that an insurrection, it's not an insurrection. So at the end of the day, I think we need to stop being driven by this propaganda narrative management that's out there and start having discussions with people in a calm way, understanding there's definitely going to be people that disagree with you. That doesn't mean that you have to throw them away because of their disagreement. And this case is it's just been ridiculously divisive, and I'm so glad it's over.
I've gotten thrown away. I've gotten blocked from some people on Twitter for sharing my opinions. Do you think that Kyle Rittenhouse can make the best of this, whatnot? A lot of people assume that he's going to kind of just digress back to his right-wing Second Amendment kind of ways. But do you think with this experience he went through being a young person that he can find some way to build bridges himself, maybe come talk about the situation, how he regrets taking lives? Do you think there's redemption for Kyle Rittenhouse? Because I don't think a lot of people are even thinking about that.
No, they're not thinking. But I have a hard time thinking there would be because he got everything that he asked for.
But he got scared shitless. He was up there for several times. He thought they might lock him up and throw away the key. You know what I'm saying? You can see the emotion from the kid so many times there. Because here's the thing, he's just a kid too.
Yeah, he's just a fucking kid. But he's just a kid that's being exploited for a cultural narrative with people like Matt Gaetz saying they want to hire him as an intern. So I have a hard time thinking he wouldn't go down that route, which is my annoyance of it. It's a gigantic circus. Meanwhile, a lot of things are happening, like what I just mentioned with Nicaragua, like a lot of things with the COVID narrative, and what we're going to talk about now with Build Back Better. Yeah. So I have a hard time thinking that that's going to happen, Pasta. I think it's a very optimistic view.
We'll see. I'm always hoping for the best. I'm always hoping to see something because if we keep going down the road we're going, fam, it's lights out. I don't know what's going to happen of us. Yeah. We're just pitted against each other so much. I'm scared to see
people
the future
are calling
of this.
for more riots and stuff. And my thing to that is, if you're going to riot for this thing, why aren't you rioting for the fact that we don't have health care? Why aren't you rioting for the fact that we have fascistic mandates coming? Why aren't you rioting for the fact that they are literally giving gigantic tax cuts to the 1%? Again, why aren't you rioting for the fact that the working class is pretty much just left out for dead? We have a housing crisis. We have a homelessness crisis. Why doesn't that make you get off your chair and riot? Yeah. Why does it people are putting all their anger on this person when this person isn't going to change anything? You have to go after the people in power, and we cannot do that if we're so divided. So that's really what I see in America. People are so divided, whereas people in the global South, they've come together and are fighting back. So
by the way, just on the Rokfin real quick, Trey Wright says the Convo Couch is a top-tier journalism and commentary. Love you all so fucking much. Top tier, he says. Thank you so much, Trey Wright. And for you, those of you on YouTube, this is also a good chance for you to sign up on Rokfin for free if you'd like. We're going to go to Rokfin later in the show when we get into a little bit deeper of the you-know-what stuff. So if you're not there now, go there if you can. But if you're just watching on YouTube, we love you as well. Shout out to Mr. Will, All Blue Aside, all the cool people out there. Thank you so much. Deep Space is in the house, and a Tyson Hook as well. So thank you very much, guys. Fam, let's get to the novella of the week, please. Can we please talk about that? Because I can't. This is something that just blows my mind. So. Right.
So distractions, right? We have the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and then we have this. We have AOC's melodramatic, just gigantic telenovela performance that she had on Congress because a Republican named Gosar tweeted out an ad of. It wasn't just about her. In fact, if you don't watch the video closely, which we're going to watch the video, you would miss it. It barely, like a second of her. But he did a whole video of an anime cartoon where Democrats are evil and like the Republicans are beating them up, and it's anime, and it's like this kind of like Dragon Ball Z-esque kind of thing. I think it's called Teen Titan or something like that. Attack on Titan.
Come on, fam, get it right. Glory Jones would be pissed.
Glory Jones would be pissed. I'm sorry I let you down, Glory. I'm very ashamed of myself. So she got offended by this. So she did a whole thing, as she usually does. She's always the victim. She literally is the epitome of that type of leftist that always thinks like, I'm the victim. Let me speak my truth. Like, it's just so like, it's just like, you're not a fucking victim. There are real victims out there. Yes. And so anyway.
And you're a congresswoman too. So he act as if.
So they voted to censure him, right? And he's the first person to be censured in a long time. And so she did this whole speech. So I just wanted to start, I believe, by watching the video. Let's see. This one.
The second one? The YouTube one.
Yeah. That's on there.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. That was it?
That was it.
That was
if
it.
you didn't blink, if you blinked, you missed it.
Wait, that was it?
Yeah. So
this is what she's crying about.
That's what she's crying about. So the worst part of this, as Jonny just said, is that they're doing the whole anti-immigrant bullshit right now, right? Like, again, Republicans, if you're going to do the whole anti-immigrant bullshit, attack all imperialism. That's because that's the only reason people are coming over.
Yeah.
Literally. Our fucking interventionism. So if you're not going to talk against our interventionism, I don't want to see your anti-immigrant bullshit because it's all on us. Okay, it's all on our meddling. Look what we're trying to do to Nicaragua. Look what we did to Honduras. We literally do, especially in Central America, And then we sanction countries in Venezuela who are trying to hold off against the U.S. interventionism, and then the people get tired, they blame the person in power, and they leave. And that's why you have massive influx of all these people in many countries, especially in the United States, Mexico, etc. So.
By the way, I just want to say 76 or 78, I can't remember which one, but it's definitely either one of those bases, U.S. bases in Central and South America. Just so you know out there, ladies and gentlemen, why are those bases there? Okay? Why are they there? All you patriots who want a wall and say, this is awful that people are coming over here, well, pull back all the bases. Get rid of all the bases. You won't need a wall because they wouldn't be flocking here because we destabilized their country so we can rape their resources, put in the IMF, and make sure that socialism doesn't work because we can't let Americans see that education and free healthcare are a good thing for their citizens.
Right.
No, we got to spend money on the military.
If you don't like socialism, fine. Let other countries do what they want with their
exactly.
government. Like, okay.
Ridiculous.
So none of that was discussed though, because it all became centered around the trauma that AOC endured because of this, for the blip that he did it. Now, do I think it's unprofessional? Absolutely. I think it's dumb. I think he shouldn't have done that. Okay. Do we have to waste a whole, look at how much time we wasted. So let's watch.
They should have made their own video coming back at them, fam. That's what you should do. Just make your own video against them.
Let's watch the first video right here where Aaron Rupar says, AOC said, what I believe is unprecedented is for a member of House leadership of either party to be unable to condemn incitement of violence against a member of this body. What is so hard about saying that this is wrong? Okay, so let's hear what
I've been serving in this body just under 3 years. In that 3 years, enormous amount has happened. But in response to the Republican leader's remarks when he says that this action is unprecedented, what I believe is unprecedented is for a member of House leadership of either party to be unable to condemn incitement of violence against a member of this body. It is sad. It is a sad day in which a member who leads a political party in the United States of America cannot bring themselves to say that issuing a depiction of murdering a member of Congress is wrong, and instead decides to venture off into a tangent about gas prices and inflation. What is so hard? What is so hard about saying that this is wrong? This is not about me. This is not about Representative Gosar, but this is about what we are willing to accept.
Are you willing to accept sanctions on Nicaragua that are going to actually kill thousands of people and whatnot? Are you okay with that? That we're still sanctioning Venezuela, Cuba, and the global South? No, okay, yeah, right. She didn't vote for it, you know what I'm saying? But she didn't say it. There wasn't a tweet. There wasn't a moment on the floor for this because of an anime freaking video. Are you serious? Are you serious?
I would laugh and I'd be like, you're ridiculous. Like, you're hilarious. This is hilarious. Like, I just think it's like, come on. You're a member of Congress. You have people whose lives are riding on what you do, and you're hyper-focusing on this bullshit? Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about distractions, this whole melodrama, and then I think she continued.
This one right here.
Yeah, she said on the one below it, Jonny.
Nihilism.
That, nihilism among Republicans. And she makes this, once again, what I want to point out about this is she makes it about Democrats being the good guys and Republicans being the bad guys, when we all know that they're two wings on the same bird, okay? And like she's there to make you feel like it's a Republican thing, that they're so just mean and evil. When we talk about who voted to sanction Nicaragua, Rokfin was leading the charge. He was leading the charge on these statements. I mean, you gotta like you gotta stop and think, like if you're talking about killing people and racism and all this stuff, like our foreign policy is some of the most racist things you can do. And these people pat themselves on the back, the members of the Progressive Caucus like Rokfin, as if being progressive matters in labels when their actions say otherwise. So it's really And the colored peacock with the mask behind over her left shoulder there has been one of the worst Russiagators, anti-Venezuelan legislators in this body of Congress here. A Democrat, right? Because she's who? What is she doing? She's pandering to her base over there. But it's not even her base, just a block of voters over there in Venezuela, the Venezuelans that live in her district. Right.
Okay, so she's been awful as well. And have any of these people been pushing for Medicare for All, which killed how many thousands of people every year, fam? But she wants to talk about an anime thing. Oh, please, grow up. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be an adult over here. And why do we praise so many weak people within our society that are in Congress? These are weak-minded people. The reason why Daniel Ortega, Vladimir Putin, Lukashenko stay in office for so long is because they're people like them, because they are strong leaders and they don't take no shit and they don't waste time on little melodramatics in their freaking bodies of Congress.
Like
Putin,
this going on in Russia, in Nicaragua, in Cuba, in any other major country. I have a hard time imagining this going on even in like the UK or something. I mean, this is a joke. We are a joke of a country.
Yep.
Like, and the reason we're a joke is because we have people like this in power.
Yeah. And people like you praising them.
Not our audience.
Not our audience. You know who we're talking to out there. You know who. The ones who say, I see you. No, I see you. Yeah, let's play this video.
Not just the Republican leader, but I have seen other members of this party advance the argument, including Representative Gosar himself, the illusion that this was just a joke. That what we say and what we do does not matter so long as we claim a lack of meaning. Now, this nihilism runs deep, and it conveys and betrays a certain contempt for the meaning and importance of our work here. That what we do, so long as we claim that it is a joke, doesn't matter. That what we say here doesn't matter. That our actions every day as elected leaders in the United States of America doesn't matter. That this chamber and what happens in it doesn't matter. And I am here to rise to say that it does. Our work here matters. Our example matters. There is meaning in our service. And as leaders in this country, when we incite violence with depictions against our colleagues, that trickles down into violence in this country. And that is where we must draw the line, independent of party, identity, or belief.
Yeah, so there is where she pivots, right? You guys notice that? Because she's doing this whole theatrics. I mean, she's an actress now. You can tell it's really bad acting. You know, she's doing her thing. I haven't seen this much passion in AOC for healthcare for all, for anti-imperialism, for anything remotely, for free speech, for anything, Julian, nothing that is tangible to the working class has she actually made this sort of impassioned speech. I mean, you could take the speech monologue, memorize it, perform it, and put it in a fucking B-rate Hollywood movie. Like, I'm not joking.
It could be in a good Colombian novella, you know what I'm saying? The ones that are way over the top.
But notice how she pivots to inciting violence, right? Using, once again, that rhetoric stemming from January 6th, where people were, the insurrectionists and they did this and you almost had me killed, to where on Twitter, where she said the tweets that she was getting were violence. To the moment where she sent out that email where she was saying, you need to go and demand those people be taken off Twitter who are, talking violent things about me. Notice how she's once again asking for the censoring of people, one. Two, equating this, what's being done to her on this micro level to the macro level of, that's the same thing that's happening, and these Republicans and these right-wingers, they're inciting violence, and these anti-vaxxers. I mean, you can see how this is going to go, because that's where they're going.
Exactly.
That's what she's
they are the
used for.
protected class now, fam. Oh my God. You're supposed to be a civil servant, and while she's saying this matters, that matters, Johnny would say, foreign policy matters. Am I right, my man? Because that's what matters, because that's where death and destruction comes, especially to people, people of color and whatnot, but you're not going to say anything about that. You're not using your time on the floor to talk about anything relative, fam. Go right ahead for the next part. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say, just reiterate, the New York Times, in a 223 to 207 vote, the House removed Representative Paul Gosar, Republicans of Arizona, from 2 committees for posting an animated video that depicted him killing Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and assaulting President Biden. So, you guys remember the Donald Trump the headless Trump that Kathy Griffin posted?
Yeah.
And all that stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that out there in case people forgot.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, that's totally fine. But when it's one of their own. So my whole thing about this is that they're distracting you, right? They're distracting you from really what are the things that are important. And I'm going to read Misty's tweet in a second, but I'm going to read the one below it first. So he said, this is from Benigma 2017. Democrats, including famous tax the rich dress wearer AOC, will be voting on the Build Back Better today. And it passed today, the House. It still has to pass the Senate, which includes a massive tax cut for the wealthy, estimated at $380 billion.
Yep.
The second largest financial component of the entire bill. Tax the rich, my ass. And Misty said, in less than 2 years, progressives have voted for the CARES Act, and now this. They are shoveling money to the richest among us, and somehow I'm the asshole for calling them out. Fuck all the way off. And this is the kind of energy that I think a lot of people are feeling, the kind of energy we need, because how can this be the center of attention with AOC when this is what they're voting for, when this is what they're passing, and they're making it look like it is a win yet again. This is a win for the 1%. It's not a win for you. It's not a win for the working class. It's not a win for the vast majority of us, but they're making it look like that, right?
And Trump signed the CARES Act, by the way, and I want to let you guys off the hook too as well. They keep on shoveling money to the top. So this is all of Congress, all of people embodied. This isn't just one team versus the other, but especially the Democrats and the progressives, who were supposed to be all about taxing the rich, just once again fold in to the elite class, the predator class once again. So
yeah, and so Johnny, we can just go ahead to the the Build Back Better passes House, the political article. And I just wanted to mention, because we're going to go deeper into it when the Senate comes to play, because it just passed the House. So the Build Back Better passed the House, and now it's going to go on to the Senate. And so some of the things that I want to point out about this is Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy gave a giant speech. They passed this. Nancy Pelosi's hailing it as a victory. The entire squad is hailing it as a victory. And it was all Democrats, mainly. Barely any Republicans voted for it. I think no Republicans, actually. So the final vote was 220 to 213. No Republicans joined Dems.
Jared Golden.
In supporting the bill. One single Democrat voted no. Jared Golden, as you said. Nearly 100 members of the House voted by proxy on final passage of the $1.7 trillion climate and family spending package. And this is according to the tally by Anthony Adragna for Congress minutes. And then the Democrats were hooting and hollering, chanting, "Build Back Better." So this is what Nancy Pelosi said. "We'll be telling our children and grandchildren that we were here this day." And she's talking about how it's amazing. And yeah, so that's what they're talking about. Bernie Sanders says he hopes it gets strengthened in a number of ways. But it's not going to, because the Senate is far less, it's going to take away some things. And remember when the House said they weren't going to vote on something that was incremental?
Yeah. Well, it's incremental for the people, not for the billionaires. They get what they want, of course, as well. And once again, now I think it's our job to kick into play. We know some people out there who've been going through this bill, to get these people on and start pinpointing the areas of this bill where it's just a big giveaway. The one Democrat who voted against it, Jared Golden, I highlighted him a long time ago when the CARES Act, when I watched that whole hearing, which was just terrible. You had the 30 seconds of AOC kind of going off, but really not holding anybody accountable and not really being visible. We didn't hear her voice when there was a, what do you call that vote, when you didn't get to see who vote, when it was just the A's and the I's, a voice vote. Thank you so much. Say that 5 times really fast. But Jared Golden, to get on the phone, he says, if you look at this bill, we've given no time to vote on this. They just gave it to us. And it looks like it's been written by lobbyists and so big that you could drive a truck through it. Yeah. So he was very aware. He was onto this before, saying, look who's writing this bill. It's written by a bunch of lobbyists. You start looking into this. He was ready this time. He probably had a team and saw all this pork there that really didn't do anything for the people. And he was the one Democrat to abstain from it. And that's what we need. We need people in the Congress like that, who are going to say, no, I'm not going to let the lobbyists write the bills, take on over, and shaft a little guy. So I'm going to be looking into this bill over the weekend as much as I can. I think you guys should too as well. If you see a point of it that you don't like, where it's a lot of pork, point it out and let's talk about it, because you know it's going to be filled with a bunch of pork. We got to expose the Democrats for who they are and what they are. And this is not going to help the little guy.
And by pork, he means like a bunch of bullshit that has nothing to do for the people.
Exactly.
And just it's really focused on, projects for foundations or things like that are for the 1% and nothing to do for the working class.
Yeah.
So.
There will be a handout to all big businesses throughout that bill. You better believe it. Roar Media, thank you so much. Reagan destroys unions. Clinton deregulations.
The equivalent of riots, as they have been passing laws pretty much ripping away our civil liberties. That's been happening since the Patriot Act. It's gotten worse and worse after January 6th, and of course with COVID now. So no, this is systemic now, right? And so you can see it manifested in this.
Yeah, I'm just afraid to look at all the tweeters out there that are going to say, he deserved what he got, he should have gotten more and stuff like. How about James Clapper and John Brennan for lying to Congress and lying to the American people about the NSA spying on us? They don't deserve this type of charge. They deserve more than this. They got nothing. And like Fam says, all the people, all the warmongers, all the people who commit crimes, all the people who lie to Congress or lie to the American people, they get elevated. I mean, Pfizer. You want to talk about Pfizer? Mm-hmm. They once again had the biggest lawsuit for lying to people, manipulating data, and not one person served time in jail for that. And that's kind of disgusting when you just look at those things, whatnot. So, I mean, that's just, I really don't have much to say about this. We said this before, the lady, the water protector, they stuck the domestic terrorist label on her, and she got an extensive amount of time too as well for protesting.
Right, using that very same thing. This is why I understand why people are mad about the Rittenhouse verdict, because he gets away with killing people, and then you have an activist, and obviously, like, you can argue it was self-defense and all that, and I understand that. But what I'm saying is, then if you're an anti-establishment protester, you get the whole weight of the law against you, because that's by design. I mean, the law is that you can't do certain things. That's why you're protesting it. So this is the system we're in, and that's why you have to fight the system itself, not get sidetracked by the circus around the system. And so Max Blumenthal tweeted, accountability in Washington. Iraq war criminals fill government and think tanks. No officials were jailed for torture on bankers for the financial crash. The Sacklers and senators caught insider trading days before the pandemic got off. But at least we nailed this shaman for obstruction.
Yeah, but look what he did. He sat down at the desk over there while the cop escorted him in the room. But I think they got him on the pre-crime, right? So.
Yeah. So then Steve said, Daniel Baker is doing 44 months. I think he meant 41. The pre-crime of posting on Facebook about an event on January 6th in Florida. Hugh Shaman goofball gets 41 months. Oh, okay. 41 months for obstruction. Ashley Babbitt is dead, and the cop who murdered her got a bump in pay. the Capitol Police got a $2 billion in new funding and branch offices.
Which the squad voted
Which the
president
squad-
to allow it to happen.
Exactly. So it's just a bunch of bullshit. Again, this is just more crap from
Divisiveness,
the system. And
distractions.
there's it's supposed to make you feel good,
Yeah.
that these people got what they got.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that goes along with this is the FBI has been raiding a lot of people, but particularly they raided Project Veritas, and a lot of the left was cheering for this. This guy that ran for something in West Virginia or Virginia, I forget his name. He says he's socialist, but he's one of those authoritarian types. He was cheering. He was saying, going after Kevin Gostola for saying Project Veritas aren't real journalists, and so they're okay to be, for the FBI. It's okay for the FBI to go after them. But Kevin Gostola, who we've had on the show, wrote a dissent on his website, The Dissenter, saying that the FBI raids show Project Veritas is the latest target in the war on journalism that continues to escalate, and it's maddening. So I'm just going to point out a couple things from his this article he wrote, because it's important. Just because you don't like these people doesn't mean that you should okay these type of FBI raids.
Yeah.
And if you click on the link, you can show it too. It's there. And he said, unless the government had good reason to believe that Project Veritas employees were directly involved in the criminal theft of the diary, this is related to Joe Biden's daughter's diary, it should not have subjected them to invasive searches and seizures. The American Civil Liberties Union stated days after the FBI raids against the organization were reported. The U.S. Justice Department executed search warrants against 3 employees of Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, Spencer Meads, and Eric Cochran. They were supposedly searching for Ashley Biden's diary, which authorities suspect was stolen. Ashley is President Joe Biden's daughter. The search warrant against O'Keefe, founder of Project Veritas, referred to a conspiracy to, quote, process stolen goods and suggested stolen material was transported across state lines. FBI agents seized 2 iPhones from O'Keefe during the raid on November 6. O'Keefe claims the devices contain information on donors and confidential sources, as well as reporter notes. On November 11th, Judge Annalisa Torres instructed the government to pause its extraction and review of the contents of O'Keefe's phones until she rules on whether a special master should be appointed to review what could be used as evidence. Project Veritas engages in journalism with hidden microphones and cameras to discredit progressive organizations and establishment media outlets. It has received funding from Donors Trust, which has given hundreds of millions of dollars to conservative and libertarian groups from wealthy individuals. They mask donors' identities to help them avoid any backlash. The actions of the Justice Department evokes comparisons to the Unprecedented Espionage Act prosecution against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, which was launched by President Donald Trump's Justice Department and continues under Biden. However, the personalities and politics of O'Keefe and Assange are irrelevant to what whether the Justice Department committed a significant overreach that jeopardizes press freedom. So again, if this is what is, if you don't like people, right? If you don't like somebody and you think that their ideology doesn't align with yours, that's irrelevant. The fact that this is happening to journalists is going to mean that it's going to happen to any one of us. And once again, the left is cheerleading for this to happen because they don't like Project Veritas. I don't like Project Veritas. I believe that they manipulate information. I don't trust them as a source. Do I believe that they have the right to do journalism? Yeah, because I would be a hypocrite not to, just because I disagree with them. Again, if you don't believe for justice for people you don't like, you don't believe in justice at all.
Yeah.
That you cannot do that. It's the same thing with free speech. If you don't believe in free speech for everybody, even people that you hate, you don't believe in free speech at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line there. Whatnot, people cheered on when Alex Jones was the platform.
Yep.
We said, what's going on? It's not good. And once again, they might be going for people who disagree with you and you disagree with them first, but eventually they'll come for you. This isn't just about one side. This is about silencing everybody. Just like we talked about the shaman over here who got 41 months, 44 months, whatever it is. It was a ridiculous amount of time for what he did. They did the same thing to the water protector, and they slapped the domestic terrorism label on her, and she was a leftist fighting for water. You know what I'm saying? So don't think that they won't come for you, because, you know, they will. And once they're done with using you as a puppet for crying for them and complaining for them and speaking up for them, and they don't need you anymore, you're on the hook, and they'll be coming after you. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yep. And we should bring in our guest.
Let's bring him on in. We can do this section with him, because he'll do this section with us, and it'll be great. Let's bring him on in. He's not here yet. Well, he should be here shortly.
Did you send it to the email? Okay.
Okay.
Double check with him.
Double check real quick. Just want to say a shout out to everybody over there on the YouTube. Another Worldview Possible. What's up, Ian? We love you. Matthew O, Jilly Love, Karen M. Hope you're doing well. Vegan Succubus, Teddy K, Ray F, Choosy Heretics Choose Carnation Revolution Now. Cremation Revolution Now? I don't know what all that means. Rutherford Maplethorpe. How you doing? That's a great name. Hail Mary Recordings. What are you up to? Makiko. How are you? Good to see you again. Thank you for coming on. Honest Opinion. Matt J. Lawrence Johnson. And Nam 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 Yam. I should say it right. Nam Nam Yam. You need some...
Yeah, I just need water.
Yeah. We'll get that for you and stuff. Hail Mary Recordings is there. Thank you guys so much. Do us a favor right now. Like, share, subscribe. If you're not on the Rokfin, get on over to the Rokfin. That's Rokfin. They don't suppress our voices over there, fam. The Rokfin Revolution, where we get to speak our minds, say what we want without the censorship of big tech like YouTube and Susan Wojcicki, who doesn't want us speaking our minds. Thank you to all our Patreons out there. You guys have been amazing. And thank you for everybody who sent a few bucks on the PayPal. You guys are great. And if you don't have any money, the fact that you just come here with us, you like, share, and subscribe, that still means a lot to us. So thank you so much. Over on the Rokfin, by the way, we have 76 people and climbing.
Yeah.
Let's see who's there real quickly.
So we're going to have a Rokfin only section with Rick as well.
Yeah.
This section we're going to leave on YouTube so you guys get to know him. But we're also going to have a Rokfin only section. Yeah. So,
by the way, big ups to Lucky Burrito. Big ups to Steve Cutler Live. We love you guys. Jules Verne is there too as well. Kayla Steins or Staines. Steines.
Steins.
I think it's Stennis. Who knows? Thank you so much for joining us today. And Day SG. Thank you so much. Fee is always on point, she says. Thank you so much. 73 people on Rokfin. Now is the time to hit the thumbs up. Now is the time to share it. Get it on out there. Thank you so much for doing so. You want to start this subject?
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and start it until he gets there. So the FDA and the FDA, this is hilarious. This is ridiculous. So the FDA wants to wait 55 years to process an FOIA request over the vaccine data, right? So and I just want to throw this out there. They're asking everybody to be okay with putting on these boops, right? And trusting everything and trusting every organization, the FDA, the CDC, and in that. But they are simultaneously saying that they're not going to give you the data that you want to make sure that shows that everything is cool for 55 more years. Yeah. So till 2076 is what that would be.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this too is about the licensing data. And this is what's crazy. It's blowing my mind. It should be made available immediately. And the actual request is made, and they want it by March, because I think they were kind of mimicking the same amount of days it took that they had to process this data before they made the boop, legal, whatnot, under the EUE, Emergency Use Authorization. So that's one of the reasons they're saying stuff like that. But what we said is that it should be made available. And the reason why they want to do this is because it's over like 300,000 pages, I believe, is the request. And so what they want to do is they want to be able to retract the things. And what are they saying the excuse is that they want their proprietary information kept secret, so therefore they're not giving it out. So that's why they want this extra time. I think they want to release something like 55 pages a day, fam, which is ridiculous, because in the licensing process to make this legal, that is now being mandated for jobs and school and federal jobs as well, that this information should be made available right away. We're talking immediately. So that's what the craziness of this is really all about when we're talking about this. in particular. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to read a little bit from the article. So the Freedom of Information Act requests are rarely speedy, the FOIA requests. But when a group of scientists asked the federal government to share the data it relied upon in licensing Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, the response went beyond typical bureaucratic foot dragging, as in 55 years beyond. That's how long the Food and Drug Administration in court papers this week proposed it should be given to review and release a trove of vaccine-related documents responsive to the request. If a federal judge in Texas agrees, scientists, public health, and medical professionals for transparency can expect to see the full record in 2076, when most people will be dead. Most people alive today who are vaccinated will be gone, which is ridiculous to think about. And so I wanted to, this tweet I guess was deleted. Weird. They suspended this account, I guess.
Maybe.
Okay, that's weird. Okay, but it was a tweet, and then it was from a Substack, so the Substack still stands.
Yep.
And we can go into the Substack right now, and I'm going to read from the Substack because the Substack actually has the data, because this is from the guy. This is from one of the people that are taking them to court. So this is by Aaron Siri, and he says the FDA has asked a federal judge to make the public wait until the year 2076 to disclose all the data and information to license Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. It wants 55 years to produce this information. As explained in a prior article, the FDA repeatedly promised, quote, full transparency with regard to COVID-19 vaccines, including reaffirming the FDA's commitment to transparency when licensing COVID-19 vaccine. With that promise in mind, in August and immediately following the approval of the vaccine, more than 30 academics, professors, and scientists from this country's most prestigious universities requested the data and information submitted to the FDA by Pfizer to license its COVID-19 vaccine. The FDA's response, it produced nothing. So in September, my firm filed lawsuit against the FDA on behalf of this group to demand this information. Today, almost 3 months after it licensed Pfizer's vaccine, the FDA has still not released a single page, not one. Instead, 2 days ago, the FDA asked the federal judge to wait until 2076 to produce this information. And so I want to go to so you guys can see the actual document, the actual legal document, and what they're asking for. So there it is. It's the United States District Court, Northern District of Texas. It's the Public Health and Medical Professionals for Transparency against the Food and Drug Administration. And, it states their complaint, and they want this information. And, so, they're talking about how the FDA said that the Pfizer vaccine meets the highest standards of safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing quality.
It will show us the receipts.
The FDA requires of an approved product. Numerous public officials, media outlets, journalists, scientists, politicians, public figures, and others with large social or media platforms have publicly raised questions regarding the sufficiency of the data and information, the adequacy of the review, and the appropriateness of the analysis relied upon by the FDA to license the Pfizer vaccine. And so this organization is made up of public health professionals, medical professionals, scientists, and journalists. And it exists for the sole purpose of disseminating the data and information in the biological product files for each of the COVID-19 vaccines. And so they want to ensure that the FDA commits to transparency. And so that's why they're doing this. So essentially, that's their case, and that's why they're doing that. And so it's kind of funny to me that people aren't freaked out about that people aren't questioning, why is that okay? Why is it okay to wait 55 years for Pfizer, which is a big, gigantic pharmaceutical company, and the FDA, of course, is backing this, right? To release this information. Why is that allowed when we should have all this information before?
Yeah.
So that is my thing. The CDC says these vaccines are safe and effective and transparent as they just, related to us. So why is there such a holdup on the data? We don't have the amount of workers to go through these pages. Hire more people. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You're a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, hey, you're absolutely right. They should be hiring more people too as well. It should be made available immediately, especially since this is something that's being mandated right now. It should release all the data. And it says right here, this 108-day period, which was requested by the scientists and the team, is the same amount of time it took the FDA to review the responsive documents for the far more intricate task of licensing Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, wrote Aaron Siri of Siri in Gilbert in New York, and John Howie of the Howie Law in Dallas in court papers, and that's why they're doing it. So they've given them 108 days. It says that's how long the FDA took. That's how long the people should be able to get it, right away, whatnot. Yeah. So this is going to be interesting, and it blows my mind that they want 55 years, fam. What kind of shit are they pulling?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody will care about this in 55 years when the coronavirus 19 would just be something like the flu, like it should be right now. So it's just crazy that we're at this point. Have we heard anything?
Nope. You have his number?
Let me see.
Yeah, you might want to text him because he was ready to go not that long ago. So if there are any super rays we can read.
Yeah.
I think we're up to date, guys. Just shout out to all of you. I was told somebody from a new member of FHL was ranting against me and Jimmy Dore on the Vanguard.
Who?
I don't know. I forget his name. I think it's online also. And it's kind of crazy because I didn't even make a video, about the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. I simply made a tweet saying it's divisive and it's distracting, which I stand by. I think it is. And so I don't, again, you're proving my point because you're wasting time arguing with people who are on your side, who want to fight the system, and you're doing it based on just this whole idea that everybody is against you, that if somebody says something that you don't disagree with, you're going to call them a white supremacist. I mean, it's just a joke. The left has dismissed that word now. Everybody's a Nazi. Everybody's a white supremacist who doesn't agree with me. You have trivialized that word because now that word has no meaning. It has no value, has no weight. There's no hold.
Johnny, give that to John. Really did it happen? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Was the Vanguard talking shit?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't watch them. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. We're here if you want us to come on, dog. You want to talk to us about it instead of talking about us? We're here.
Yeah, it's just so stupid, these YouTube bullshit. Especially after coming to Nicaragua and being here and covering all this stuff, to me, it seems so trivial now. Even responding to it is just, it's just we're doing other things, we're doing things that are extremely important, and just, getting on these YouTube boards where you're debating people just seems so trivial. And the left is a joke in America. I keep saying this, and it sucks because I don't want that to be true, but it's a non-existent entity. Yeah. There's a few of us that are really there, that are really anti-imperialists, that are really trying to fight the system, and then there are people that get lost in the culture war of, everybody's a white supremacist, everybody's a Nazi. Kyle Rittenhouse represents the utmost representation of white supremacy. It's look, dude, fine if that's what you think. I don't think so. I think the real white supremacists are the fucking state agencies, the people in government, those people making laws. They hold all the power. Yeah. They hold all the power. You want to waste time yelling at me? Fine. Use that anger also to yell at the people that are in power. The
people who have power and whatnot. Yeah. That's just, it's crazy. I can't even understand why they would do that. You were you never made videos or really talked about Rittenhouse, and you even said that, and we both said that, from what we've seen, and once again, I haven't dove into the case crazy, is that manslaughter should be on the table. Did he incite this whole situation? Did he cause the situation? A lot of people feel so. A lot of people feel.
I feel like he should get manslaughter because he still had a motive, and his motive was to play cop, and I think motive matters. but it wasn't up to a judge. It was up to a jury. And the jury,
Yeah.
a lot from the start, they sided with him. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think he has he has the backing of the system to his favor, right? He's pro-cop in Kenosha, a city, like, when I visited Kenosha for the,
The panel.
the panel with a bunch of people who are on the right and a few liberals and stuff. And
You
Niko,
almost got charged with beating up Destiny that day. They were about to book you, I remember.
yeah, well, I mean, Niko then finished him off this past time.
A couple elbows.
And
verbal
so
elbows.
when I was there in Kenosha, when I was talking to people who were like on the left, one of them was an Uber driver. She was like, look, like, I support BLM. I support all these issues, but what happened in Kenosha destroyed my city. I did not like it. People who were on the left were like upset at what happened. And so that kind of gave me perspective as to when initially I was like, no, these people are just, like, for me, property doesn't matter. That just comes from my point of view, my ideology. I value people over property. So when people were highlighting property so much, I'm like, well, do you understand why these people are protesting? And I still stand by that. Like, you have to acknowledge why people are protesting. If that's not being discussed as part of the conversation, then that's a problem. But it gets lost, right? Because people are so emotional one way or the other. They're like, no, it was self-defense. And, Kyle's a hero because he represents, Second Amendment and blah, 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 and self-defense. It's like, no, he's not a hero. He got off with self-defense because that's what the evidence showed. But motive, why he was there, that matters too. And also the justice system, favoring him over favoring somebody on the other side. And that's what people need to, when you talk about the whole thing, you have to talk about all of it. You can't just talk about some of it.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how somebody that has that process like I do is being painted as a white supremacist or somebody that, when what I'm saying I agree he should have been prosecuted for something. And I think, I think I think the punishment should fit the crime. Maybe he could get manslaughter and then be also sentenced to 1,000 hours of community service in an inner city, learn how people are living, learn the history of what slavery did and the drugs and all of this stuff that the CIA has done. That's what I would do. If I had power to change the way the prison system is, I would make it a rehabilitation system for everybody.
Absolutely. Mike Vick had to go around and talk about what he had done when it came to the dogfighting ring, whatnot. He really went out there. He learned a lot from his experience. A lot of people didn't realize it was part of the culture that he was growing up in.
Yeah.
That it was normalized to fight dogs and whatnot. So he shined a light on that, and he was able to go around and talk about how it changed him and now how he looks at the animals differently, whatnot. And a lot of people found it very rewarding and helpful, and for him to do so. We can do something like that with Kyle Rittenhouse, and like we talked in the beginning of the show, who knows what's going to happen. But, just because I disagree with Jimmy Dore and Matt Orfalea doesn't mean I was ready to cancel them.
Yeah.
Not over this. I mean, this is a debatable situation. There's nuance to it. And when we bring
nuance.
Garland Nixon on, he's going to talk about those things. It's very nuanced. But there's no discrepancy, right? There's no argument that the United States empire is going around and putting its boot on the necks of these countries like Venezuela, like Nicaragua, like Cuba, getting involved, intervening where they shouldn't be. There's no denying that. And the fact that we're not even concentrating on situations like this, but yet we're so distracted and hyper-focused on the Kyle Rittenhouse case, it makes me think that we're lost in society in some ways. And that people are just
They don't
the
make
thought
that
police.
connection, though.
It's just so terrible, fam.
But they don't make that connection because
Can't they see they're being played?
It's like, okay, defund the police. Okay, who empowers the police? Oh, the military. Who empowers the police? Oh, the Pentagon, right?
Yeah.
The Pentagon, the military, the national security state apparatus. Those people police the police. They give the orders. Okay, it's not even Biden. It's
like
not
Iran.
even. It's those people. Is he there?
All right. More discussions for this Monday. We're gonna
Yes.
We'll be back Monday. We'll be ready to rock and roll. So, you know what I'm saying? We got a great guest on today. I want to say thank you to this gentleman right off the bat.
He's hilarious, first of all.
He is hysterical. He's got a beautiful mind because it's a very creative, outside the box kind of mind. I've had very many conversations with him. He was also a great friend. He was one of the first people to call me when I was thrown off stage for the Medicare for All March and say, Pasta, it was bullshit, and I stand by you, whatever choice you make. The very funny, the very loving, Rick Overton is here. How you doing, Rick?
Hey, thanks for having me. This is wonderful. How you doing?
We're
Can
doing
you
great.
see me?
We can hear you.
We
Yeah.
can hear you. We can see you. You look great.
Good. I can't see you. I just see the logo. Is there a way to see you?
I don't think so, but that's okay. We look the same. It's on our end. It's just not
Yeah.
doing both right now on our end, but don't worry about it. We can see
Okay.
you, and you look great, and you're talking to us,
hello.
and you're wonderful.
Well, thank you for having me. I really admire you too. You've fought the good fight from the beginning on every issue, and you certainly have all the right enemies.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
We-
honorable list.
We admire you, Rick. We really do. But I have a question for you right off the bat. Let's get going. Let's just jump into this. Because I look at your Facebook from time to time. I watch a lot of the stuff you say. I'm there with you on so many things.
Yeah.
And you've been doing comedy for a long time now, correct?
Would have to be just about 50-something years. 50.
So when you came out of the womb, you told a joke, right, to the doctor. That's
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So now when people ask you,
Early on, I did figure out that getting the laugh is a pretty sweet deal early on. As
Yeah.
a kid, I noticed that. Yeah, all right. That's a cool route right there. If
Yeah.
you do it.
so now when people ask you what you do you include the fact that you were involved in politics now? I mean, has your life changed over the last several years? Because a lot of comedians that we know, like yourself, like Ron Placone, like Graham Elwood, like Jimmy Dore, they're not only comedians now, they're very much kind of looked upon for information and opinions when it comes to the political world. How do you kind of like classify yourself now?
Well, I think I'm another concerned citizen, and it just so happens I do this. Because the people who are computer programmers who are concerned, or they're just cashiers who are concerned, or they're healthcare workers, I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with them, and they are of equal value. Their voice should matter just as much. And I just, because I have a particular set of skills, I will try to use them to help send a message across. That's it. I'm a messenger, and of course we get clobbered. There is a thing though. You can't clobber comedians when they're messengers. You can try, but it always bounces back and hits you in the face. It never works. It never works. I've never seen it work when they need to get a comedian for something. Not lately, at least. In Lenny's time, they could wipe a guy out, but not now.
Do you feel like it's
No,
easier for people to like accept and talk about difficult issues via comedy than it is to just hear it straight from the news? Because that's one of the things that I feel people like Jimmy and people like you do. You make it easier to digest a lot of the disgusting things that are going on around the world. And I think that's a reason why comedy resonates for so many people and why comedians are really popular when it comes to politics, because it seems like you guys you make it easier for it to become part of the general public discussion.
Yeah, people remember jokes. It sticks in their head. If you made them laugh, sometimes it sort of imbues the idea into them a little bit, because you have to get the logic to get the joke.
Right.
Yeah.
If you say something, if you set the joke up in a way that people go, yeah, but no one would do that. A joke isn't as funny as if you could picture, at least, it doesn't matter what the duck says on the guy's shoulder. It's what everyone else says to the duck.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's the part where we do need the grounded logic somewhere.
Well, my next question is this. What were your initial thoughts when the lockdowns were announced? You know what I'm saying? Because I really had a place in my heart for people like Graham, like people like Ron, like people like Jimmy, because now they're taking you away from what you do. Not only what you do for a living, but what you love to do. So what were your initial thoughts when this lockdown was kind of imposed and you were like, oh my God, I might not be able to do live comedy for God knows how long?
Well, the first rule, you start to roll with what is, but don't drag bring the thing from the past that matters most, your moral structure. Bring that, who you are, who chooses right and wrong inside your gut. Bring that. Don't bring a ton of your baggage beyond that. Don't bring everything that's from your past up here right now, because it's going to get pretty busy and you don't want that blurring your view of the present, which helps you step into the future. I would say in this improv, we are, if you didn't notice at first that there was a lot of manipulation going on, you got to be pretty deliberately obtuse to continue doing that. Now, I would say that person has to have pharmaceutical shares and they're just hanging on for dear life that way. And so they get a little shred of empathy, which they can use up like that by saying the wrong shit right now. But up until then, there's a shred of empathy for the fact that they put all their investments in there when they didn't know that Pfizer was going to be doing all these other, they didn't know all these other pharmaceutical companies were evil. That was sometimes inherited. They got these investments and their parents told them this will keep you alive. And that's all they ever looked into it. I can't really assign guilt to that situation, but once you know these VAER numbers and you're still just lying and shaming, I'm sorry, you make it to the wrong side of history list, baby, and it's digital now. People are not going to forget them after this.
But
And
don't you
committed it to perpetuity by going send.
But Rick, I mean, we talked about a little bit of empathy. I'm sorry, I have a decent amount of empathy for a lot of people I felt were lied to, were manipulated, that thought this would be the thing that get them back to the normal life.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
Those people get a pass. The ones who were lied to, you get a pass, especially if they did it to themselves. And they didn't really shame anybody else. They have nothing but the tears in my eyes and the warmth in my heart.
Yeah.
They're not the ones I'm talking about. And even some of the ones that did a little bit of scolding and shaming, you can see how if they were right, it still is not the perfect way to do it, but they're not the criminals of the universe here. And certainly considering what the crime they've committed to themselves. So that they are also, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people that absolutely, clearly, deliberately are pushing something that they must know differently about by now,
Right.
but they adhere to it just the same.
Yeah.
And guys, this is going to be probably like the last question we ask before we go to Rokfin only. So Rick, the FDA has asked a federal judge for 55 years for Pfizer to release their licensing data for the COVID-19 vaccine. You probably saw that. There seems to be some comic relief here, right?
Kennedy way ahead of that. We'll get UFOs before that. Kennedy, the whole thing, long before.
I mean, half of us won't even be alive. More than half of us won't even be alive at that point. How is it that these people, are allowed to keep something that should have been released already before?
Yeah.
Right? This is something people are putting in their bodies. This is something that we don't know what the side effects will be in 2 years. Like, that's how do these people get away with it? And further, how is it that the vast majority of people are so okay with this?
Well, there we go back again to that, your doctor was something your parents approved of. Maybe you have medical people in your family. To go against any one individual institution will somehow harm this other relative in the same basic business somehow. And that's the psychology of I can't speak up against the thing my cousin is in.
Yeah.
They'll see me at the holidays and go, hey, thanks for stabbing me in the back. I didn't mean you, but I'm in that industry. Now people are looking at me that way. Oh, enjoy your holiday meal. And so the psychology on a million different levels has been layered and layered like an onion into us, where there's no digging out for some people of all the different layers of pressure that will come upon them if they rock this boat in either direction.
Yeah.
They are trapped, and I can see that, and my empathy goes to them too. I am not talking about them. I'm talking about there are a lot of shareholders out there who will bend all the rules of morality and decency to just keep the stream of what they were promised to be the most amount of money they would ever see in their entire lives. It would never, there's no amount of talent or skill or luck that would have landed them this bundle of cash. And now that's going away. And anyone pushing against it represents like an enemy that the animal in them responds to. You see them online. They don't look like caring people. They don't look like they give a shit about anybody else. They look like, you're messing with my money supply, motherfucker. They become like, switchblade people. And it's so clear that, and when Pfizer does this 47-year hold, could you do anything? If I were your consigliere, could I give you a piece of advice that would make you look more fucking guilty right out of the gate? Are you kidding me? They're playing poker with the hand facing out towards everybody else. They're saying, it's us. And I guess in a way they're wagging it at us to show how we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But we can. Why would that be the one thing they're honest about? And everybody working for them, why haven't they thought about the fact that the company that is hiring you to lie to everybody else, what makes you think they're telling you the truth? Do you think you're invited to the rap party? They know they can't trust this cadre of rats because they can be turned on their own. And they know when the day comes, they're going to get the Brian Williams underbus ride.
Let's hold on to that thought, Rick, real quick. We're going to switch over to Rokfin only. This is an amazing interview, guys. Get on over to Rokfin. We're going to finish it on up because we're going to get a little dirty. We're going to get a little bit more about the psychology of what's going on with the great Rick Overton. And then he'll be able to plug a lot of his stuff over there, too, as well, what he's doing. Because he writes songs. He talks about possible movies and screenplays. He's got a beautiful genius mind. Get over to Rokfin now, Rokfin, and we'll finish up this interview with Rick Overton.
Thank you.